Hey folks, this is Steve with Nonprofit Ally, and today I'm going to go over how I make my featured images for the blog posts that I put on the nonprofitally.com website. Typically, I use Photoshop when I do this because I am fortunate enough to own Photoshop, but it's an expensive piece of software and I wouldn't expect everyone to have it on their computer. So I have found a photo editor called Pixlr, which is online and it's free, and actually it very much mimics Photoshop in many of the way, the look and the feel and the features that it has, and it's perfect for what we're about to do. So there's a blog post about creating the featured images and actually creating images and titles for your blog posts that will increase your click rate. And this video is going to accompany that. So if you're watching this on YouTube, just look down in the description below and you will find links to the blog posts that go into a little more detail on picking the right images and getting the right titles. So, all right, so the first thing I'm going to do here, I am at pixlr.com. There will be a link to this in the description below. And I'm going to open an image from my computer. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I've already put one here. It's on my desktop. So I go to my desktop and let me scroll down here. It is the featured image, the plain one. So this is going to be the image that we're going to be working with. Let me enlarge this a little bit. And so I just opened it up. Left-hand side, you have all your tools. And again, if you're familiar with Photoshop, a lot of this will look similar. At the top, you have your file, edit, your image, and your layer, and all your adjustment stuff up there. And then down here at the, or down here, over here on the right side, I have my layers, my history, which allows me to click backwards in things that I've done so that I can, it's undo, basically. It's how I will undo things. And so this is the image I'm going to be using, and the title that I'm going to be putting in here is called, it's called Increase Your Open Rate with These Tips and Tricks. So increase your open rate. That's why I have a photo like this. Now, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the text, and I'll just go over here to the text icon, and I'll open up my text tool, and I get that little I-beam thing. I'm just going to click anywhere for now, and I'm going to write the words increase your open rate with these. And I'm going to leave it at that for now because I'm going to use a different font for tips and tricks. But so I have a little text editor here. You can see I can change the font. I'm going to just do a very basic, for this demo, Arial, black, nice and bold. I'm going to center align it for now, and I'm going to make the color white because we're going to put a background layer behind this, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, and once you have that done, center aligned, I pick the font size, the color, Arial. We'll keep it like that, and we'll say OK. So I still have my text tool on. As you can see, my icon is still that I-beam with a little plus sign. So I'm going to go over here to the top, the left side, but the top right tool, which is my selection or move tool. And I'm going to move this over to here. And you can see now over here on the right-hand side, I have a layer that says increase your, and that's the text layer. And then there's the background layer. And just simply by clicking on these, I can switch which layer is active. So I'm going to the background layer. This is the bottom layer. And I'm going to add a new layer above it. And I simply do that by clicking this icon here. I add a new layer. It's there. It's transparent. You can't tell it's there until I put something on it. I'm going to put a background down there, so I'm going to go over here to the Marquee Tool and click on that. And this allows me to make a box. And in that box, I'm going to fill this with a gray color. So I'm going to pick my color first in the gray selection. This middle area, it's kind of a confusing color bar, but I'm going to pick gray this way. That's good. I'm going to say OK. And then here's my box on its own layer over here. I'm going to fill this. And the way I do that is I go over here to the paint bucket. I click on that. I come over to the box and I dump the paint in there. And now I have a gray background. And so that part is ready. And now again, if I just click on the Marquee Tool, because you can see I still have these kind of dancing ants around my box here. So if I have the tool selected and I click away from my selection, it deselects those dancing ants. All right, now I need to add the rest of the title, which is tips and tricks, which I'm going to do in a different font. So I'm going to go to the text tool, and I'm going to click on my image. Doesn't really matter where. I'm going to write tips, and I'm going to enter tricks. And for this, I'm going to use a fancier font, a funnier font. I'm going to use Rosewood. And it's kind of a Western font. Actually, does this computer have Rosewood? Yes, all right. And I'm going to center align that also. And I'm going to increase the size of that to 50 looks good. Change the color. I'm going to change it to a yellow. So here's where you select the hue that you want to use, and then inside you actually select the color you want. And I'm going to choose that one. I say OK. I say OK. I go to my selection tool. I click on that, and now I can drag this right there. So there's tips and tricks. Now, when I do this in Photoshop, I put it has more tools you can use. So I'll adjust things a little more. I'll increase the font size or decrease the font size, etc. Just the line spacing in between them, the kerning in between the letters. And in this online free version, you don't really have those options. Now I see I spelled increase wrong. So basically all I have to do is make sure the layer is selected, which it is over here. And I know it's selected because when I click and drag, I'm dragging that layer. And I will go over to my text tool. I'll click on that. I'll go back over to my increase your open rate. Click on there, and there it pops open the editor again. So I can change increase. I'll include the N this time. Increase your open rate, which makes it a little too big. So I'm going to just change my font size down maybe to 26 here. And say OK. And then I will line it up. These tips and tricks. So basically there you have it. A featured image that will go on the blog post that basically says increase your open rate with these tips and tricks. And my Photoshop version that I did, here I'll slide it over here for you to see. So you can see I have a little more font choices. It comes out a little clearer and a little better with Photoshop. But I can do this with Pixlr. I just have to change each one of these would be its own text entry because that's a different font size. This is a different font size. So doing that is multiple layers. And for this demo, I just didn't do it to save time, but I could increase could be its own layer. I could change the font size. Open rate could be its own layer, and I can increase the font size. And then with these, this part could be its own layer, and I could decrease the font size. But creating that many layers takes a lot of time, and I'm trying to keep this video somewhat short. But that's what it would look like if you change the font sizes to give it a little more of a dynamic look to it. And there you have it. So now all you have to do is save this image, which is up here at File, Save. And you have a choice between if you have a Pixlr library online or my computer, which I'm going to do. I'm going to save it as a JPEG at a pretty high quality, and I'm going to say OK. And then I would just call it plain image 2 for now and save it to my desktop. And now it's on my desktop, and I can post this image in my newsletter or in my next email or in my blog. All right, so that was a really quick rundown on how to use Pixlr to make your featured images for your blog, newsletter, or emails. Hey, I hope you liked this video. If you did, give me a good rating down below. Feel free to leave a comment. And like I said, there are links to the blog post, which has information on not just how to make a compelling headline, but also on how to find images similar to the one that I'm using here that will really catch people's eyes. And once you catch someone's eyes, they're going to stay on your image, and then they're going to read your caption. And at that point, you hopefully have them hooked, and they're going to click and read your article. And that's the whole point, is to get someone to click and read your article, because the open rate for things, for blogs and newsletters, believe it or not, 25% of the thousands of emails you may send out to somebody, 25% are going to click on or read your blog post. Okay, folks. Hey, have a good day, and thanks for watching.